St. John's. What'd you say, Chris? Sorry. Joining us right now, Sactown Sports Kings insider Frankie Cartoscelli.
We bring the boom. That's what we do.
Good morning, Franklin. How are you?
I'm doing well, David, Jason, Christopher. Good morning. Happy Monday, or is it? But I think it is.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, we're all happy to be here, and the good Lord willing help the ball club. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy your child. Mine got into UCLA over the weekend. I'm very proud. Tomorrow, yours will be going to college too. So enjoy it, Frankie, please.
I will definitely enjoy it as much as, you know, the in-law is, my mother-in-law is here, and she's taken on watching the little guy while my wife is back at work. And as far away as college sounds, it sounds pretty nice with him screaming his head off in the other room. So I look forward to that, Dave. And they say it goes by quick. It does. We're enjoying it. Granted, I love the little guy, but it's incredible how loud and how long babies can scream. It's honestly pretty impressive. And I now understand why my mom, who love you, Mom, has told me forever how much I yelled when I was a kid, and I kind of just to brush it off. And it does put it in perspective and make me feel a little sorry for them. But you know, that's what it's about, baby. That's what it's about. And we're living to see another day.
Just remember one key thing every parent tells new parents, buddy: bourbon. and by the way, some for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. But no, that's great. But I did see UCLA, Jason, did lose after Dave's daughter was accepted. Is there a coincidence?
I'm keeping my eye on that, Frankie. I'm very, very suspicious of this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, and she doesn't care about the sports ball. So
yeah.
I
like it.
Well, we do. And Frankie, I believe it was probably your hands all over reposting the video earlier today of us talking about this. But as you see, we put out a poll that a proposed trade, the Kings trade, missing the play-in entirely, with both Dallas and Phoenix passing them. And if they do that, the Kings receive their first-round pick this year rather than conveying it to Atlanta. Of course, it's top 10 protected next year and then conveys to 2 second-round picks if it does not convey next year. 74% now, with a pretty sizable chunk in. 74% on Twitter say make the trade, miss the playoffs, keep the pick. The other 26% say, yeah, dude, make the playoffs. Over on the chat here in our little old chat, it's a lot tighter. 54% still say keep the pick, miss the playoffs, but it's a lot tighter. Frankie, where would you fall? Not as an insider, but as a Kings fan, where would you fall in that?
I mean, the fan portion of my brain, I'm thinking more long term about what is the best move for the longevity of this team. And, you know, I think at the beginning of the year, when you look at this roster, I think the question would be make the playoffs by any means necessary with that core and keep building and developing. Well, that core is gone. And I think that one of the bigger questions I've seen Kings fans talk about is, you know, the Kings are now searching for a 1A, and they don't really have a 1A option right now. And will you find a 1A option with a 12th, 13th, 14th pick? It's unlikely, but like you mentioned, there have been players before that have been in that range. I think Donovan Mitchell was 11th or 12th in the draft. I mean, there are players that can emerge. You know, obviously Giannis late in the draft, not even in the teens. I think he was in the 20s. So you can find a diamond, you know, or a gem in that area. But I look at it as does winning the play-in and getting swept or gentlemen swept by OKC, is that looked at as a win for the organization? Is that viewed as a step forward, that they're making the playoffs, but they're just getting, you know, packed up by OKC? And, you know, selfishly, I think it'd be great to continue going to these games and covering them and talking about them, you know, from us, especially, you know, from a content standpoint. We love the Kings to keep playing, but for the future of this team, I think that you want to keep, you know, gaining those assets and building around the young players that you have. And we're seeing players like Devin Carter kind of get more of a shot. Keon Ellis, getting minutes in starts here, especially with the injuries that have popped up. Seeing what you have with Keegan Murray, who's shown more initiative over the second half of the year. You want to see what you have with those guys, I think, going forward, because I think we've talked about it in recent weeks that I think that the DeRozan, Levine, Sabonis core, if that's what you want to call it, I'm not sure if it lasts past this season. How that looks going into the offseason, we'll see. But having a draft pick, in my opinion, would be really important for this team at this point. And also, if it means that you want to take another swing, you have another draft pick to trade if that's what you want to do on draft night. But getting that draft pick to me is the best option forward for this team right now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the ceiling of the current group is very high. Doesn't mean they can't surprise, but what would you say like the best case scenario, Frankie, is with the group they've got right now?
I mean, we've seen like stretches where this team looks really good. I mean, we saw against Cleveland, they arguably their best performance of the year. We saw them shorthanded in Boston in January when De'Aaron Fox was still with the team. He was out that night. They beat the Celtics on their home floor convincingly. So I think that the Levine, DeRozan, Sabonis group, they definitely have the talent, I think, to compete on a nightly basis. But I think you guys have said it too, that it's almost like a fantasy basketball team assortment of talent. You have guys that are very good and very talented in different areas, but is it the right collection of talent? It doesn't seem so. And they continue to have lapses on the defensive end. You continue to let teams beat you on the 3-point line. They did a good job defending Milwaukee in the first half the other night, but second half, you let Milwaukee shoot 52% from threes. In the fourth quarter, I think Gary Trent Jr. hit 3 or 4 threes by himself. I mean, these are things that we've seen this team struggle with, just continue to rear its ugly head. And with the roster turnover, things haven't really changed either. So to me, it's really a back to the drawing board situation. But like you said, can they band together and surprise and win some of these games? Obviously, this back-to-back is pretty daunting, but can you take care of business on the upcoming road trip and, beat Portland on Thursday, get into that play-in game and, maybe make things interesting? We'll see. I mean, I think anything's possible, but I really kind of, err on the side of it really looks like this team's ceiling is going to be that play-in game. And if they get to the first round, you can view it how you might. I mean, some might view that as a successful season. But I think that the ceiling of this group is pretty evidently low.
Frankie, you started by saying the Kings don't have a defined 1A offensively, which I don't disagree with you necessarily, but it's a little strange when they have one of the greatest scorers of all time and a guy that regularly averages in the mid to high 20s. How do they not have a 1 and 1A when they have DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine in the same starting lineup?
Well, I guess let me say, every team, I guess, has a quote-unquote 1A. They have their go-to option. But the Kings, I guess, are missing their top 20, top 25 option now. And, I think De'Aaron Fox, really, the attention he demanded and the way he could do it, how crafty he was. And, yeah, not to knock on DeMar DeRozan, who we've seen him go to work and in his, the mid-range and the post-up situations. He's been pretty effective. But the Kings offense right now, it's so top-heavy, and you're relying on these guys it's almost like a your-turn offense right now between DeRozan and LaVine. And, the ball movement is gone. The cohesiveness isn't there. And it just really isn't the kind of basketball the Kings, especially this Beam team, the version of the Beam team, were accustomed to playing. And De'Aaron Fox, was he a great 1A? I mean, that's the jury was out on that. And I think that a lot of Kings fans are they're pretty open about that. They wanted more out of Fox. But for a guy who averaged 25, 26 points per game, had high assist numbers, shot the ball better last year, this year wasn't great. I think that he demanded a lot more of opposing defenses because of how crafty he was and how he could penetrate, get to the basket, get to the foul line. And you see other players around the league have similar skill sets, and, SGA's in a league of his own of getting the whistle. But, James Harden in his heyday, Jason Tatum, all these players, Kevin Durant, all these players around the league that, aren't as one-dimensional as far as their scoring goes. I think the Kings are kind of looking for that next great player. And, DeMar DeRozan, like you said, he's been a great player, but he's 36 years old almost. Zach LaVine just turned 30, and we've seen him, I think, 4 of the last 6 games, he's failed to score 20 points, and the Kings have lost all 4 of those games where he's done so. You need more consistency there. You need someone that you can rely on every single night. And the Kings right now, by trading Fox, there was sure a headache going on behind the scenes and a lot of things that were happening there. But by moving him, it significantly lowered the ceiling of the team. And now you're looking for a younger player, to build around for the future. And the Kings right now, they don't have that. They don't have a young player with that star potential to build around for the next 5 to 6+ years. And we'll see if Keegan Murray can take those steps forward and, become a near all-star level player. I think that the Chris Middleton comps that'd be great to see if he can continue to develop into that kind of player. But I feel like, and who knows if you find it with the first round pick this year, you might not. You have to find it other ways. That's the Kings' next goal, in my opinion, is finding that next player your next Fox or your next, I'm not saying DeMarcus Cousins because they're losing teams. Chris Webber down the line, your player that you can kind of, hit your franchise to and say, this is our guy. This is who we're going to build around. And that's a very, very hard thing to find. And it's a very hard thing to find in a pinch as well.
Frankie, when this homestand started, they lost to Memphis, or they beat Memphis, but they lost Sabonis in the game. And the thought was, 2 weeks would be reevaluated. Definitely missed the homestand. But practice yesterday now is questionable for tonight. Obviously, the ankle wasn't as bad, which is good news. But you think we actually see him play tonight or tomorrow?
Well, he hates missing games. I mean, everyone knows that he hates missing games. And it was pretty scary watching him go down the way that he did. But looked like he dodged a bullet there. And yeah, the fact that he logged a full practice, that warrants to believe that he's definitely pushing for it. Now, it's going to be up to the training staff. We saw him log a full practice after trying to return from his hamstring injury. He still ended up being ruled out even after logging a full practice. So we'll see how he feels today after going through yesterday. And, I would say there's a pretty decent chance he plays either today or tomorrow. The back-to-back could change. I think playing them both would be a little unlikely in my opinion, but he definitely wants to play. I mean, circumstances are dire here. And like you mentioned before earlier in the show, the draft pick conversation, the players don't care about that. The players want to win every single night. And Domantas Sabonis, there aren't any players really I can think of at the top of my mind who have more of a desire to win basketball games and want to be on the floor. And he's someone who wants to be out there every single night. So I would imagine we see him pretty soon here, but good sign that, he's able to come back sooner than later because the Kings need everybody they can get. And obviously with Devin Carter and Malik Monk questionable tonight with illness, the Kings might need all hands on deck. Whoever can be out there tonight.
That's Frankie Cartoscelli, Sacramento Kings insider for Sactown Sports. Make sure that you follow him on Twitter. Also, read all of his stuff at SactownSports.com. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, fellas. Have a great week.
It's Frankie. Bringing that boom. Very quick 1 minute break. When we come back, the season sweep of the Celtics, is it possible tonight at Golden One Center? We'll go over some of the particulars next.